Georgia versus Alabama.
Woo! Game of the year contender.
Easy.
Who wins?
Could I go first? I'll go
Go
first.
ahead, Grant.
All right,
All right,
listen.
Grant.
Watching film about this game. This is why I love college football. Georgia, Alabama, regardless of the teams, every single year, it always provides a great matchup. And this is exciting for me. It's Kalen DeBoer's first game against the Georgia squad. That looks very tough. You know, Georgia had that real close game against Kentucky that almost probably put their whole season on tread. But Alabama's coming off of a big win against Wisconsin. And I think the biggest thing for me, the two things that I think this game is going to matter on, and I narrowed it down to one for each side. So let's start off with Alabama. Alabama, you want to win this game, they have to slow the game and play it at their pace. Do not try to win the game at the beginning of the first half. If they try to pressure this game out and drag it into the first half, they can lose the game in the second. Just play straight, play peacefully, you play consistent, and you can find a way to win this game. Plus, with the crowd on your side, I think it shows that this Alabama team can be very consistent on that side of the ball. As for Georgia, my biggest question also with Alabama, you have to ask if Alabama's secondary is going to be able to hold up. I think the biggest thing, too, is looking outside of Malachi Moore. There wasn't a lot of people that was coming back because that's a young group because you got Xavier Brown, Jalen Mbakwe, and USC transfer Jermani Jackson and Keon Sabb. They've all held up well, especially against South Florida. And I think this game is going to come down to really how can that Alabama secondary hold up. As for Georgia, man, I'm going to be honest with you, champ. This game's going to really go down to if Georgia can get the run game going. Because when you saw it against Kentucky, it bit them in the butt really bad because they weren't able to hold anything and their offensive line got dominated. And I think the big pick for this game is going to be if that offensive line can hold up. But if we're going in my predictions, I think this is going to be a close game. It's going to be high scoring. And I think both teams are really good. But when I look at this game from on paper, I'm sorry, in my eyes alone, I think Kalen DeBoer knew going into a game like this. I think Georgia's looking to completely change the tides of what the season's going to be like. And I think they're going to walk into Tuscaloosa and put a show, but I think Georgia's going to scrape away to win. I got it 49-47, Georgia game of the year. I think this is going to be high scoring, and I think this is going to be one of the best games we see all season.
PRF.
This is easily one of the biggest regular season matchups we've seen in a long time, possibly well over at least the last decade. This is huge. I really think and another thing, I think it's going to come down to quarterback play. I really think it's going to come down to quarterback play. But with you got Jalen Milroe for Alabama. You got Carson Beck for Georgia. It's going to come down to who can operate the smoothest and the cleanest in that type of environment. Because let's face it, we've seen some quarterbacks even at home. That environment is just so overwhelming that you're trying to pump them up. You're trying to get the crowd into it. You're trying to get excited. You go and you try to make one too many big plays, and that's where you mess up. And I think Jalen Milroe has to keep himself composed. He has to come on, man. They just, even though it was a neutral site, but I mean, it was the SEC championship game. It was Atlanta, and you saw what Jalen Milroe did to Georgia last year in the SEC championship game. So he has to stay composed. He has to just continue to operate under his offense. With this being Kalen DeBoer's first game against the Georgia Bulldogs, he can't go into this thinking like, man, what I got to do. This is Georgia. What I got to do. No, you got talent on your side. You just have to understand. You have to come in. You have to come up with a game plan. Because let me tell you something. If I'm correct, I saw a stat. Kirby Smart at Georgia's 20-2 when he has when he has an extra week to prepare for somebody or something like that. I mean, you are falling right into the Kirby Smart trap because he has a full extra week to prepare for you. So for Georgia to go in there and win this game, Carson Beck has to be better. But This is a game. This is the type of game I feel like someone like a Trevor Etienne transferred for to come in to really make a statement because we know he's a good back. We saw him at Florida last year. We know the boy can play. He's really good. This is the type of game that can really put you on the map and really establish something for you being with the University of Georgia now. So I'm looking at the play action. I'm looking at Mike Bobo. I'm talking to you. Open up this playbook. This is Alabama. You can't be too conservative. It's like they say, if you late in games, if you're at home, you play for the tie. If you're on the road, you go for the throat. You go for the win. You go into Tuscaloosa going to win, looking to win this game. You have to understand that you cannot be conservative. You can't be rolling out a whole bunch of screens, a bunch of crazy tosses when you don't need to. You have to attack Alabama down the field. That has always been their kryptonite. If you can throw on Alabama, you can beat them because you are taking the pass rush out of play. You have to attack them down the field. So I'm looking at a Dominic Lovett. I'm looking at a Colby Young. I'm looking at an Oscar Delp. I'm looking at an Arian Smith. I am looking at their wide receiver core and the tight end. I am looking for them to have a big game because they need it because Alabama, even though they have talented players, the secondary is young. And outside of Malachi Moore, they're not used to an environment like this. This is a completely different ball game for Alabama. With that being said, I don't think the game is going to be that high scoring because I do think the defenses are going to make plays. I see this like a 28-24 kind of game. I do think Georgia can go into Tuscaloosa and get this because, like I said, this is Kirby Smart with an extra week to prepare. So you know he's got something cooking for this game tomorrow, and I'm interested to see what they're doing. But if Kalen DeBoer wants to put his name on the map, this is the game that you were brought in to win. So he's got to have a game plan ready. I think this is easily the best game of the year. This could be one of the best games we've seen in years. I'm going to go 28-24 Georgia because I know they're looking for get back for the SEC championship game. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as Grant, but I do think there's going to be points scored, but I think there's going to be some defense in this. I'm ultimately going to go with Georgia because I don't know. After the SEC championship game last year, I think they're just ready for some get back, and that's really my analysis on it. I got 28-24 Georgia.
Before I give Champ the floor, it's interesting that you brought up the bye week BRF Sports. I'm reading an article here from Christian Kirby II from Sports Illustrated. It says it right here. During Kirby Smart's 9 seasons as the Bulldogs head coach, Georgia has completed 9 regular season bye weeks. In the games following those bye weeks, the Bulldogs hold a record of 8-1 and have defeated opponents by an average margin of about 21.6 points in those 8 victories. Now, it is also important that the Dogs, the last time they've beaten the Tide at Tuscaloosa, is going back to 2007.
Matthew Stafford, the game winning touchdown pass.
Right. So, Champ, who wins? Georgia is a 1-point favorite in that game.
I am afraid. I hate Alabama week. Alabama week is one of those weeks, kind of like when Atlanta plays the Saints. It just makes me kind of cringe. This is like because I just want to beat them, but it's just like I can't seem to beat you. It just bothers me. Just every time I think I got you, other than in the national championship, you managed to beat me. But on that note, who's that coming down the track? It's the Mean Machine in the red and black. We will win that game. And we're going to take it to you right in your backyard. We're going to come in your backyard. We're going to turn the trash can over and walk out the front door. Believe that. Carson Beck will have a good game. Look for Trevor Etienne to have a big one as well.
It's a tough one for me. I'm going to go with Bama. I'm going to go Bama in this one, 31-28. I think if Miller, the running back Miller from Alabama, can help out Jalen Milroe, and if Jalen Milroe makes smart decisions, I think Bama has a good enough chance. And given the fact that Bama is the underdog, and look, this is a statement win for Bama because, remember, going back to the SEC championship game last year, Alabama won it. Georgia, because of that, they didn't get into the college football playoffs. Okay, Georgia has some motivation. But Bama, they want to prove to people, nah, we deserve to be in that national champion. We deserve to be in the college football playoffs. This is an opportunity for us to show everyone that that victory in the SEC championship game was no fluke. The key factor to me for Alabama is that wide receiver, Williams. Boy, he's explosive. He is explosive, and I just want to see what Georgia secondary can do against them. But I'm going to go in this one, 31-28 Alabama. It's going to be a tough one.